The Grand Egyptian Museum holds in trust for Egypt and the whole world a chronological statement for the ancient history of Egypt over the past 7,000 years, neighboring a timeless wonder, the Giza Pyramids Plateau. The new museum is to pay homage to eternal ancient Egyptian monuments, treasures, and history, hosting over 100,000 artifacts, about 3,500 of which belong to the famous King Tutankhamun.
So, Mona, you're working here in this area, in this field, as an archaeologist, and of course, talking about the display of the objects in the Grand Egyptian Museum. I believe this is something that is an experience that you did not even imagine that one day you would pass through. Am I correct?
Yes, of course, it's very important to have such an experience because here one day of working many days in other places, especially considering that the museum itself is not yet open, but on the other hand we are doing endless to-do list every day for each tray, and of course also for me as I'm working at tray A, where we have such a long time spanning between the prehistory and the first intermediate period.
Yes, I want you to tell me more about what are you doing exactly.
I'm working at the museum exhibition department, and more specifically at tray A, which encompasses a wide time period spanning between the prehistory, pre-dynastic, early dynastic period, Old Kingdom, and first intermediate period. Such a long period, as of course also my colleague has already mentioned, it's the galleries are divided chronologically, and for this part we are more specifically working with the prehistoric collection, which is very interesting, especially considering the very special nature of such objects, such as the stone tools, the pottery, and also expressing aspect about the ancient landscape and making the invisible archaeology visible, according to Dr. Rodolph Cooper. It's his nice words, especially concerning the ancient landscape and the types of object which is not really reachable for the visitor easily. So we are trying to focus more also on how to make such object more reachable to the visitor, how they can enjoy even the small pieces, and also how they can correct the awareness about the importance of object, and not only considering the gold pieces as the more important ones, but also the ones produced by very early Egyptians, and how this can be reachable through making a plan for exhibiting pieces, considering aspects such as excavation stories, the context in which object was found in, and also reconstructing some of the actual environment of the object, such as the reconstructed tombs which we will be having in tray A, and also reconstructing the stratigraphy of the sites where the object were actually located within the stratigraphy. All of these can make the idea more reachable to the visitor than before. And of course also we are learning a lot from working here, especially that we are always do research about the object and very specific types of object, very specific point of research. All of these are also helping us to learn more in a very short time, and of course also planning for the exhibition and how to make it very interesting, how to develop and sustain it.
Let me tell you that as long as you're talking about the display of the objects, from what I understood, that it is not only about a display of a piece, but if I'm going to see a certain pharaoh, for example, I will learn all about him, about the lifestyle, about the pottery, about the jewelry, about everything that they used during this era. Am I correct?
Yes, of course, especially that we have main 5 thematic routes which go through the whole chronological units of the museum, and in each tray or each also gallery, we have these ideas expressed not only through the object but also through some of the helping techniques, including the advanced technologies that will be used, and also the way in which the object will be on display. It's
As if you are watching a movie.
Yes, yes, it has to be a story that can be read by the visitor easily, and also, of course, using the aid of technologies and also panels and so on. But it's not only about putting an object for display, but also for interpreting it and also making it clear for the visitor what does it really mean and why it's important to know about the original place of this object and how it was excavated.
Ramses II is the first point of reference within the entrance court. This shaded external space serves to orientate visitors to their desired destination. Museum visitors are invited through to the naturally lit grand staircase as it ascends to the main exhibition spaces.
Whenever we talk about this museum, we feel that this is the exact meaning of museums, and this is the most important part. The museum is not only a place to show monuments or pieces, but also from what we are talking about, we can see the educational side, the children. You are satisfying the needs of all people in general, and talking about the education itself and providing the conferences, right?
Of course, children start learning about ancient Egypt early on in school. We will be urging to complement their school program about history and to provide it in a modern, interactive way that is interesting for them, and we will be talking to them in the language of their time. So today, apps and internet and games, this is their life, and we will be going into their world, entering their world in order for them to get interested in their fantastic past. At the same time, the museum, we hope, will turn into a kind of social meeting point, a place where Egyptians can meet and interact with their foreign guests at a time where the world is drifting apart and conflicts are flaming up all over the world. It becomes more and more important to concentrate again on things that are common to us as our common humankind heritage. So this is a chance for this to be also a message of peace to the world, a place where people meet, and then having a conference center directly attached to the museum, I think is a very good possibility to have fantastic events there which show that Egypt is protecting its part of humankind heritage.
On today, we are talking about transporting heavy artifacts to the Grand Egyptian Museum. The workers of the heavy artifacts area are all Egyptians and very well prepared for the whole process that include installing a winch for the gate and the scaffolds and packing of big statues to be transported. Today, we decided to learn more about the transportation of the heavy artifacts to the Grand Egyptian Museum.
Well, just being today in the heavy artifacts lab, and we can see here all these pieces actually, and these are heavy pieces. And I think the most challenging part when it comes to packing and transferring as well. Tell us more about this experience, especially that you mentioned something very, very important, that all of the whole process now is done by Egyptians.
Yes, at first I'd like to give a small idea about how many artifacts until now we have in Grand Egyptian Museum. Until now we have more than 39,000 artifacts. This artifact removed from different places like Luxor Museum, storeroom, and also Hassan storeroom in Luxor, and Egyptian Museum in Tahrir Square, and Tal Basta and Mansoura and Elmenia, different area. Until now, we removed this number of artifacts. And
So different places across the country.
Yes, yes. And the most important thing during packing to make the artifact itself in safe during transportation and during packing. We succeed also to remove artifact from Egyptian Museum like the collection of Tutankhamun, which in storeroom number 55 in Tahrir Square. This was in very bad condition. This means it need a professional way and the high way during packing and transportations. And the packing itself now become...
it's a whole process.
Whole process, yes. At first, before make packing, we must make a condition report to check the artifact very well, to know it is very deteriorated or good condition, bad condition, something like that. And if it needs some first aid conservations, we will do in the site before packing to make the artifact itself in safe way during packing and during transportations.
But talking about the transportation and moving along with all these pieces, for example, definitely each piece will need to be transferred alone, or we can have...
Yes, the way of packing is different
and do you have a certain car, different vehicles?
Yeah, no. According to the artifact itself, the ways it will used during packing. For example, the small artifact is different. The packing of small artifact is different than the medium artifact, more than heavy artifact. For the heavy artifact, it need for each artifact, it need a special case and special box during packing and transportation. And also, for example, during removing the artifact from Luxor, you know this is far away from Grand Egyptian Museum. In this case, we used a special car during transportation. This car, we can control humidity and temperatures and against vibrations, and you know the ways of
yes.
Egypt in very bad, and so we used a special car during packing and transportation.
Because definitely it will take some hours actually.
Yes,
until
it
you
takes
come
some hours, and the artifact, as I told you, which
and the route itself is not going to be straightforward,
yes,
actually, because you're moving inside. Yes.
Yes, and the artifact itself, it was in a storeroom, and this means the conditions not so good. It needs some treatment before packing and must be safe during transportation.
And even the storage as well, because I think this is another important part. So you mean you are working, for example, this lab, and then after you finish, again, you take the piece and you transfer it to...
Yes, after we finish the pieces, after we finished conservation for these pieces, we take it for the storeroom, but our storeroom in Grand Egyptian Museum is different than another storeroom. This is storeroom, you can control the humidity and temperatures. Very, very samples for the storeroom, maybe not in Egypt, maybe in the world.
And still you have more pieces to transfer, right?
Yes, we have.
Now we have 39,000 or about 40,000?
About 40,000 artifacts. We still have more than 6,000 artifacts, which we're choosing for
to be displayed in the museum.
Display in the Grand Egyptian Museum, and I think it will take a lot of time, and we'll go in the right way.
But the old pieces, I mean the big pieces, are more difficult, right?
according to the conditions.
Again, yes.
According to the conditions.
Because
The
I can
condition
see
is
just behind many pieces, and of course, yes, it can
yes.
appear.
Most of them in for the heavy artifact in good conditions, and I think this is it take a lot of time and special equipments during packing and transportation. But the way of packing is very easy. Maybe more than small artifact, it will be take a time. And as I told you, according to the condition of the artifact itself.
As you told me, we are lucky enough today because you have just got here
Yes.
a box, and we are going to
Yes.
open it together,
Yes.
right?
Yesterday we received some artifact from Egyptian Museum, and 3 artifacts of this artifact is very important and royal artifacts. One of them of King Amenhotep, second Amenhotep.
So this is something interesting because right now we're going to see together more about packing and more
Packing
about
and
how do you
unpacking.
okay,
Yes.
so let's move into to find out more about
Okay.
it.
As you said, you are very lucky today.
Yes,
To
because
have this
to tell you
samples.
the truth, this is the first time for me just to
Yes,
take this
to see.
experience.
Yes. لا مش ممكن ماشي اوكي. شيل دي كده.
So this is the packing. Tell
this
us
is-
more about it.
This is the backing of one of the famous statue in Egyptian Museum, second Amenhotep. And as you see here in the boxes, you must make it in safe way, because if it's removed, it will be have a risk for this statue, and it must be against vibrations and to be safe. And
You designed the box according to the size.
we
in order
design
to-
the box according to the size, and maybe we can use it again, reuse it again according to the size of another artifact. And this one of one way of backing the heavy artifact.
Right. And even at the bottom, we can see also that.
Yes, because in this leg, some deteriorated parts, some cracks, we must make it in safe condition.
Okay.
all materials which used in backing acid free to be safe with the materials of
What about the leg?
truck.
Because we were talking about the leg.
We have here some problems, some cracks in the legs, and so we must protect it very well to be safe during transportation from Egyptian Museum to Grand Egyptian Museum.